Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 13th episode of Literally My Life, My Guide to Girlhood. I'm thinking about now how when this episode airs, I will have listened to the Tortured Poets department, and so I'm just kind of jealous of me on Monday. Because if you're a Swiftie, you get it. If you get it, you just get it. If you know, you know. I'm really happy that you guys are back. I'm really happy that you guys are listening. Today's episode is going to be a little heavy, because today's episode is going to be about mental health. I've been struggling with depression for a couple of years, but recently it's gotten really, really bad. And I'm always honest, I'm always open, and I'm always transparent, and that's the goal of this podcast, true honesty, vulnerability, and transparency. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to be honest, because I feel like I come on here and I just paint myself out to be perfect, or I paint myself out to have it all together, but I really don't. And this is one of the moments where I really don't. So I thought I'd record this episode in the midst of it, in the midst of everything, and kind of talk to you guys about depression, my experience with depression, and maybe how I'm learning to cope. So let's get into it. So a couple of disclaimers before we get started. The first being, obviously, I don't want this to be triggering about anyone. I don't want this to trigger anyone. This is going to be a very raw conversation about mental health and my journey with mental health and my journey with depression. It is not the same for everyone. I don't want people talking about me. I don't want people attacking me in your little unpublished Spotify responses. I don't have the time or the salary for this. I just want to record my little episode about depression and my experience with it, and I'm not a professional mental health specialist. I know nothing about mental health science. This is purely my experience. That, and, also, the trigger warning. This is going to possibly be triggering to someone. If you're somebody who's easily triggered by the conversations or the topics that we will be discussing today about depression and mental health and possibly suicide, then I advise you don't listen to this podcast. Okay, now that we've gotten that all tackled, let's get started. So, okay, I don't even know at this point, I wrote down a whole thing, but I think I'm just gonna go a little off script because I just don't know where to start. I don't know what I can even, because it's not a cold cut story I got depression on this day in 2017 because this happened. I wish I had a story like that, but I don't, because mental health isn't a clear cut thing, you know what I mean? It's a broad thing, it's a spectrum, you know what I mean? I feel like I've just started this episode and I've said new drinking game, drink it every time you hear me say, you know what I mean? No, please don't do that. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Yeah. So I think for me, I always had a little bit of a more sensitive and sadder personality than maybe some of my peers, in the sense of I just always have been very sensitive. I've always taken things to heart. I've never been one that has the thick skin and can just bounce back very quickly. I can't do that. Sorry guys, my head is so itchy. Let me scratch it. Sorry for that. I don't know what just happened there. So yeah, I've always just been a little more sensitive than I'd say compared to my mom or my sisters or, even my dad. I just always felt I took stuff to heart a little easier. And I used to get teased because of that by my family. My family would be you just take stuff to heart. You're just too sensitive. And it would just make me so upset because it was no, I'm not. You're just hurting my feelings. And looking back at that was so invalidating. It just, when someone, and this is something I've learned over the years, and I've practiced it in my own daily life, is that if someone tells you that you hurt their feelings, you can't sit there and be no, I didn't. Because you did. You are not, you don't dictate other people's emotions or how they respond to things. And I wish I could go back and tell,
7-year-old me that and be like, if you said that they hurt your feelings, then they just hurt your feelings, boo. They can't tell you that they didn't. Sorry for the unnecessary boo. I've been watching a lot of like Real Housewives of Atlanta, like a lot of who gon' check me boo moments. No, but I hated that my feelings were invalidated at a young age. But back to my story. So when I was 10, um, I went through something that was pretty traumatic to me. Not in the sense of like, I wasn't like, it wasn't like a rape or someone around me died. It wasn't anything like that. But I don't want to get into detail about it because it's very personal and it's just something like I don't tell a lot of people. Um, but I went through something pretty traumatic. And because of this incident, no, I wasn't even 10. I was like 9 years old. I was in the third grade. My mom put me in therapy. She had me seeing like all these psychiatrists and therapists and all kinds of stuff. So when I started going to therapy regularly, like, getting my butt up every day and not every day, but like every Wednesday, every Thursday, and going to sit on my therapist's couch, my therapist then diagnosed me with depression. And I was so, like, I had no idea what depression was. And I feel like if you had looked, like, if you were, like, from somebody on the outside looking in, you would have never thought I had depression because and even, like, looking back at it, I was, like, so surprised because now that I know a little bit more about depression, I didn't have some of the typical depressive symptoms. Like, one thing that I do now that I never used to do when I was a kid was, like, when I was a kid, I used to never stay in bed all day. You know what I mean? Like go days without taking showers or like brushing your teeth because you're just so depressed you don't want to get out of bed. I never did that. I always had a lot of energy. I was always very high functioning. I always got up every day. There was a time in the fourth grade, there was like a month I didn't go to school. I was homeschooled for a little bit. And I got up every day, got dressed, got my work done for school, and at the time I was like making my own little magazine that I would sell to like my cousins. It was so much fun. I was probably one of the most productive people you could ever meet. So when my therapist tells me, you have depression, I'm like, what? Huh? Because I just don't seem depressed. But looking back at it, was definitely depressed. I would have panic attacks as a kid. I would have really bad panic attacks. I would just stand wherever I was and bend over and just like stop breathing. And I would just cry. And stuff like would just freak me out so easily as a kid. Because I was always scared of getting in trouble. Which is weird because I never got in trouble. Like, I never got in trouble at school and I never got in trouble at home. Like, I never got in trouble. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, I was perfect or like I was some angel. But I feel like I might have. This is like so funny. This is like my little therapy session to you guys. No, but I feel like I might have like roller skated or always been on eggshells, like trying not to make mistakes because I hate it. Like, I had this big, deep fear of getting in trouble. Like, I have no idea where this even came. I have no idea where that even came from. But I had a big fear of getting in trouble. And I would, like, have panic attacks and just cry over the fear, the thought of me getting in trouble. I don't know where that stems from. One thing about me is I'm going to laugh it out. Like, I have to laugh so I don't cry. Laugh until you can't cry. You know what I mean? Like, I got to laugh. Okay, I'm going to laugh about my little jokes, about my little trauma. Now, okay. So in the fifth grade, imagine the year. Just imagine. Okay, it's late 2017. Bad Baby is on the rise. Gucci flip flops is everywhere. Cardi B leaves Love and Hip Hop and launches a rap career. The air is just different. 2017, it was different. You just had to be there. You just had to be there. I could do like a whole episode on 2009 to like 2018 or 2019, even that. I could do like I feel like the year I stopped feeling like nostalgic was 2021. You know what I mean? Like now 2021 was whatever. I could do a whole episode on that. So if you guys want it, whatever, because I have studied the fashion trends and every pop culture moment that happened during that time. I was incredibly alert. So, but anyway, um, so it's 2017 and I'm entering the fifth grade. So it's fall 2017. And I, at this point, have lost my best friend. This is like the first big thing to ever happen to me. First big teenage thing, although I'm like not even 11. And because when I was a kid, I was not nearly as social as I was now. I did not go out and talk to a lot of people. I did not make a lot of friends. I had one friend, and I hung out with her every day. We went to the same school. We hung out together at recess. I don't think we ate lunch together because we had like a thing where it was like you had to eat lunch with your class, and she wasn't in my class. But we hung out every day at recess. We hung out on weekends. We hung out after school. We were best friends, okay? And I didn't have any other friends. Well, she dumped me. And there's no hard feelings. Like, I'm still friends with this girl. Like, we're not as close, obviously, as we were when we were kids, but I'm friends with this girl. I'm friends with her cousins. I have no issue with this girl, I promise. But she dumped me. She found someone that probably was a better match looking back at it as her friend. Like, if I had the perspective I had then, even though it was hurtful, I probably wouldn't have cared so much. I wish I had. I quoted this in a previous episode. It was like, I wish I had the wisdom of my experiences without the trauma of having to experience them. And that's so real. I'll continue to quote that until we hit like 300 episodes. Well, anyway, she totally dumped me and it hurt. It hurt and I fell into a depression. I always liked being alone, but I feel like I became more subconscious that I was alone. And I was just very lonely, very isolated, I felt for a little bit. And I basically had to learn how to kind of, I don't know, make friends again and be social. And I did. And I made so many friends that year. I'm not even kidding. My fifth grade year, social butterfly, I flew, spread my wings, had a great time. But that's not the point. So the point is that friendship breakup kind of that's to me when I feel like I started to show symptoms of depression. You know what I mean? And then so the sixth grade comes, and I was so carefree the sixth grade. Like we can just skip it. Skip. Um, Seventh grade was fine until I was in the seventh grade when the COVID pandemic hit. I still remember March 13th. I remember the panic. I just remember everything. Hold on, I need a Gatorade sipple. I hope you guys got the ASMR off of that. No. And so I don't remember experiencing any kind of like depression symptoms that school year. But I definitely did start to experience them once we were in quarantine, once we were in lockdown, because it was really hard for me. Like quarantine, it's not my thing. And I've learned then that I'm just not one of those people who can work from home. I can't do it because it's very isolating. I need normal human contact. I need to be around people, my peers. I just need to be around people. And I fell into a really deep, severe depression. Um, And, my symptoms, like I said, they're very different. That's why I'm so glad there's the internet and I have friends and all kinds of things because I see people who have different symptoms than I do. Like, one thing that I don't have, and I'm not shaming people who have it, it's just like my experience. I don't have a depression room. I've never had a depression room. It's not necessarily because I'm just too above it and like so clean, but more as because my mom is like a neat freak, like Monica from Friends kind of neat freak. Claire from Modern Family, kind of neat freak. Like, she is clean, okay? She is clean. So I was never, sad or not, I had to clean my room. So I feel like that's just not a part of who I am because I know I just have to always keep my room clean. And I feel like I'll always be like that. Like, I always will, like, even when I'm, like, living on my own. So that's, like, one thing I don't do. But things that I do, if I can get away with it, because my mom's also, like, kind of like, did you take a shower today kind of person? I did have days, but it wouldn't be very long. Like, never more than like 3 or 4 days. Not that there's anything wrong with it, just, me telling my experience. I would have times where I wouldn't take showers, or I just like didn't feel like getting out of bed, and I would just sit in my bed all day and do school on my little Chromebook and watch Tyler Perry plays. Yeah, I did that. Or, I found a lot of different coping mechanisms. The biggest one in 2020 for me and everybody else on the planet, TikTok. I scrolled through so many TikToks. I made friends on TikTok. People, I don't even know how you become friends with people on TikTok, but I somehow did it. I had TikTok crushes. I was so obsessed with TikTok in 2020. It's hideous. It's ridiculous. It's so bad. But again, not the point. I'm trying to think of other things I did during that time to cope. Oh, and I overate. I binge ate so bad in 2020. I gained, by the time we got out of the pandemic, I gained so much weight. And it took me like a year to lose my pandemic weight. Like I overate really bad in the pandemic. I was just chunky. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that is just not a healthy coping mechanism in the sense of like, okay, like I get, the key is balance. The key is balance. You can, obviously you're like, I had a rough day. I'm going to sit in my room. I'm going to eat my mint chocolate chip, even though that's nasty. Watch my Real Housewives of New York. Watch Bethany Frankel curse somebody out and have a good night. Nothing wrong with that. But you get to the point where you associate food with comfort, which is what I was doing. So anytime I had any kind of minor inconvenience, I was eating a honey bun, and not like a regular Little Debbie honey bun. No, I was fancy. Sam's Club. I have a Sam's Club membership, and I used to get these big bulk things of the Krispy Kreme donuts. So I know they were delicious and incredibly fattening at the same time. And I would just eat to cope. Like it was so bad. I would eat just whatever was in sight, but especially those little Krispy Kreme honey buns. They were so good. But again, it's not healthy to attach certain behaviors to coping mechanisms because they're not. Eating is not a coping mechanism. Sex is not a coping mechanism. Exercise is not a coping, even though you might be like, oh, it's like that's a good one. That's interesting. That's questionable. That's debatable, babe. Um, I don't know. I'm in a mood today. I'm in a mood today. I don't know. My hair hurts. I don't know. Anyway, so now let's skip to the eighth grade. The eighth grade, we went back hybrid. I wasn't depressed. I was like very like, I don't want to say manic. Like I don't want to be like, oh, I have a manic episode because I don't have bipolar. Okay, okay. You guys can feel free to always correct me. But from my understanding as to like, you have manic episodes if you have some kind of like disease, like not disease, but like some kind of mental illness that causes them, like bipolar depression or schizophrenia or something like that, which I don't have. But always feel free to correct me. But I don't want to hear any comments like, "Oh, girl, you're bipolar," because no, rude. Um, I felt manic though, because I was just kind of. Fun fact, I invented doing it for the plot. I know that's so popularized by TikTok now, and people are like, oh my god, I just do things for the plot. Like, I just took back my cheating ex for the plot. Okay, but were you like walking down the highway in the middle of the night? Okay, no, you weren't, but I was for the plot. Like, that was one time too, so please don't get on here. I know I have family members who listen to this, so please don't get on here concerned, okay? And one time. Um, I invented doing things for the plot. And my entire eighth grade year, summer, into like all of 2021, it was for the plot. I don't know what plot I was following. I don't know what I was really even doing. But everything I was doing, it was for the plot. I was just doing everything for the plot. So I don't know if it was necessarily depression because I was just like doing whatever I felt like. If I wanted to get up in the morning, do 3 somersaults, eat salt for breakfast, and then swim in a lake, I would do that thing. Which obviously you probably know went out to have some terrible consequences. So sorry to everybody I hurt that year. um, Now, 10th grade, this is an interesting one. This is sit. You need to be set for this one. This is going to be a good one. So, I recorded the first half of this episode last week before I listened to the Tortured Poets Department, but now I've listened to it and it was fantastic. And there's a song called I Can Do It With a Broken Heart, which means, and I love I Can Do It With a Perfect Heart, a Broken Heart. Like, literally, Taylor put my feelings into words all over again. And she just talks about how productive she is despite her going through a breakup, despite her crying all the time, despite how miserable she is. She's doing it with a broken heart. That was me. That was me. Rest in peace, 10th grade Alex. You would have loved I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. Because, and Down Bad. I love Down Bad. I really do. But anyway, you know what I mean. Like, I don't know what okay, so I've been honest about it. Right before I went to the 10th grade, right before I went to Whitney, I went through the worst breakup in my entire life. It was tragic and it sucked and it just was not fun. Okay, it was just not a fun experience for me. Um but you know, I'm still healing from it, still in therapy about it. Anyway, I didn't have a lot of time to just sit there and be sad about it, which I wish I did because I felt like it would have helped me get over it. Like, I still wouldn't have issues processing it because I was so distracted. I didn't have the time to like sit in my feelings and be like, you know, I'm really sad about this. Because being sad and accepting your sadness is so much better than just sitting there in denial all the time like I was. I was so all over the place. And this was just like with my mental health in general, like not even that breakup, although the breakup was like really bad for my mental health. I was so busy. I had millions of assignments always due. I was on the chess team, debate team, cheerleading. I tried out for softball. I don't want to talk about it. I was just doing a million things at one time. Like, I was so incredibly busy. I got like 5 hours of sleep every night. I got up every morning, went to school, worked out, went to class, cheered after school, homework, and did it again. Like, 10th grade, I don't know how I did it. I was like incredible. I have no idea. But I was so productive. But I feel like it was good and it was also bad at the same time. Because it was good because I don't like moping. Like, I feel like this year, because I stayed home this year, I've done online school, that I didn't have a lot of time. Like, no, that I actually have had a lot of time to mope, that I have been moping. And I kind of like being busy better. I like being able to just like go to school and laugh about it and talk to my girlfriends at lunch and then just like cry about it in the shower after school, which is what I used to do a lot. It wasn't very fun, but it was a little better than this, but it still wasn't fun. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I feel like that's going to be a really good comparison, 10th versus the 11th grade. I love how we started at the 3rd grade and we're already here. Um my 10th grade year compared to my 11th grade year, that I feel like that'll be great, a good comparison, because my 10th grade year I did everything, my 11th grade year I did nothing. Um so my 10th grade year, like I said, I was extremely busy, and you know, I feel like I just touched on that. Anyway, my 11th grade year was different because the summer before I went to 11th grade, I got really sick. I plan on doing an episode about this because a lot of people ask about it. A lot of people in my life don't really know all the details about it. So I do want to do an episode about it. But my 11th grade year, I got really sick, like hospital sick. Like, I had to be in the hospital time and time again. It was really bad. And I ended up having to do the entire year online. I'm still in online school. And I liked it, but like recently it's been starting to get to me. That's what I'm going to touch on. So, at first, like my first semester, September through December, I was extremely sick because I was undiagnosed and I just really didn't have the time to be depressed. I was just trying to live. That's so sad, but like anybody who's been like really sick like that, I feel like understands, like, you're in fight or flight mode. Like, you just don't have time to really be depressed about stuff at that point because you're just trying to like breathe on your own. Well, anyway, I started to feel a lot better my second semester, especially like from February to now. I feel a lot better, just feel like a lot more like myself, and I'm just doing really well, health wise. And so I feel like, I don't know, I just feel ready to go back to school. I feel like I'm there, but like I can't because, you know, I talked to my principal about it and they were like, oh yeah, but it's not fair for you to come back and like take a final for a class you've only been at for like 3 or 4 months. So basically I have to do the entire year online. Whatever. I've had more time to really sit and mope in my feelings about things and really process situations. And I just don't know if that's necessarily better, because either way, and this might just be me, um, and if, yeah, no, it is just me. I feel stuck. I still feel stuck in time. I still feel very trapped by memories. It is still very hard for me, whether I'm thinking about it every hour of the day or whether I'm thinking about it a few hours of the day. I'm still thinking about it every day. But maybe I like the 10th grade a little better in the sense of like I had more distractions and I was actually forming productive habits and working towards a goal rather than just kind of sitting here all day. And I do school and I do, you know, a lot of the same stuff that I used to do last year, but I'm just not the same ambitious, determined, hardworking girl, obviously, because I almost died. I mean, come on. That's a whole other episode, but I think that's my experience, that's my thoughts on it. I think I feel like neither one is better than the other because I still feel very stuck. I still feel like I'm in the same place. I still feel like I'm processing things that I should be over, but it takes me 5 years to get over like 2 month situationships. I'm not even kidding. I'm just that type of person. Like I've said since I was a little girl, I hang on to things. I'm very sensitive. It's my heart. It's my nature. It's who I've been. It's who I was born. Here, you guys want another Gatorade sip? Because I need it. Hold on, ready? That is so stupid. No. Yeah, I just hold on to things. And I honestly kind of dislike the 11th grade most in the sense of like, I've just been able to mope about things every day. And it's been really, really miserable. I almost cursed there. But remember, this is family friendly. It's been really, really miserable. It's been a lot for me. And it just was not what I wanted. Okay, it's just not. I would rather have more assignments and worry about my cheer uniforms than constantly reliving the same 5 situations all day, every day. It's pretty miserable. I'm not saying that I'm miserable. Am I miserable? I'm not miserable. Okay, so this is the last thing I'm going to talk about. Although this might take me some time. This might be a longer episode. This is actually a longer episode because I usually like wrap up by now, but I have like one last thing to talk about. Then we'll wrap up, I promise. You're probably like, oh my god, you've been yapping forever. It's kind of the point of this podcast, but and you're probably like feeling like my therapist, like, whoa, you talk a lot. I need this, okay? I recently, and I don't want to get into detail, I feel like I'm vulnerable, but I'm just like not crazy vulnerable on this podcast because, and if you guys want more details about things, like I'll always be more open, I'll always be more honest, like obviously on here, or if you follow my guide to girlhood on Instagram, and I'm working on the website as well. Then if you guys write me and just ask me to be more vulnerable or talk about more things more, then I'll obviously do it. But certain things I'm not going to talk about unprompted. But I went through something very recently and it really affected my mental health. And I don't want to, I just like thinking about it just is a lot for me because I'm in therapy and I'm getting the psychiatric help that I need. But I've been struggling with my mental health lately, which is what inspired this episode. And I'm not afraid to say it. And I was afraid at first, but I think back to my first episode, 13 weeks ago when we did therapy and how I wanted to destigmatize therapy because we need to destigmatize mental health. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you guys. You know what? I'm just going to be honest about it. I've been struggling with my mental health. It happens to everyone. If you sit up there and you say, or you can try to talk about me, be like, blah, 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 you get sad too. You have funks too. I just went through a really bad one. Okay, but I've been struggling with my mental health. Part of it was prompted by a friendship breakup that I went through at the beginning of March, because I was just devastated and heartbroken as to how I was treated by some people I was called my friends. Listen to friendship breakups. And part of it is because of another more personal situation I don't want to touch on. I actually touched on it a little bit in divorce, actually, so listen to divorce always. um, and it caused me to go into a really bad spiral to the point where I'm sitting in bed for 2 days straight, watching The Real Housewives all day, every day, talking to my best friend. Like, I just don't know how I'm going to get through tomorrow. I don't even know. I can't think about tomorrow because I don't know how I'm going to get through it. These are words that came out of my mouth recently, too. And I've just, I've been getting out of this funk, and these are some of the things that have been helping me recently. So the first being God. God has always been there for me. I will always give God his credit, even if I'm not the most religious person in the world like I want to be. God has always been there for me. He's always my backbone. I can talk to him anytime about anything, and he's there for me. Just a great almighty God that we serve. So much prayer, much power. God has been getting me through this, and then therapy has been getting me through this. This is why I highly recommend therapy, because everything that I'm going through right now, I just wouldn't be able to get through it if I didn't have my therapist. I really love my therapist. I feel very connected to her. And I understand people have bad experiences with therapy and stuff like that. Also, go listen to therapy. But I feel really connected to my therapist, and I don't know, I really like therapy. It's really helped me out, helped me build better communication tools, helped me build better coping mechanisms, helped me build a better, just overall, just really helped me. And I'm really glad I'm in therapy. Therapy's also been really helping me. 3, a good support system. So one thing I feel like I wasn't doing is establishing a good support system. Like, I was having this feeling like, oh, because I'm in school, like, all my friends forgot about me and I'm out of sight, out of mind, like, nobody cares about me. And that's not true. I've always preached to every single hater of mine that I have people in my life. I don't care if people don't like me, because I have people in my life who do genuinely like me and care about me. And I do. And I wasn't realizing that at the time, but I do. And last Sunday, the Sunday before this last one, I went to the beach with my friends, and it was the dopamine release I needed. I kid you not, just being at the beach with my friends for 2 or 3 hours, seeing everyone that I loved, was a complete dopamine release. I mean, it made me feel so much better. So having that support system, knowing that I'm not alone, has really helped me. Shout out to my best friend, Sky. I love Sky. I swear to God, I love that girl. That girl has gotten me through everything from the 6th grade to now. Every single event we've talked about in this podcast of my depression, that girl has been there for me. I get you a Sky in your life. Yeah. 4, hate to credit it, but The Real Housewives. I've been binge watching like old episodes of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Just like stuff like that to bring me comfort, because it's a distraction in the sense of like I don't have to sit here and tear apart myself in my mind, which isn't going to lead to anything productive, but rather lead to, more harmful things. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to watch, Kenya and Phaedra fight about Phaedra's husband, who we all can tell secretly likes Kenya. I'm just going to say it. I could do a whole episode on all like the Bravo drama, because I'm a Bravo person. I love me a good Bravo celebrity. Is that what they call them? Yes. But I wanted to be open and honest and transparent about this, and I am seeking psychiatric help, and I want to be, and I'm doing this because we need to destigmatize mental health. I wish in the last 2 or 3 weeks I had reached out to more people and established a better support system. And I always want everyone to know who listens to this podcast. I'm pretty sure almost everyone, although I've been getting a lot more listens lately than I'm used to, I'm pretty sure everyone has the My Guide to Girlhood Instagram. My DMs are always, always, always open. You guys can always text me. You guys can always call me. I am that person who's here to listen to you. I am that person that is here to validate your feelings, because if no one's there for you, God's there for you, and then I'm there for you. I'm always going to be there for you, except if it's past 10 o'clock. That is between you and God. I'm kidding, but I'm a little serious. Yeah, so I kind of just want to leave that there. I'm not being incredibly vulnerable because it's still like my business, but I've been really struggling lately. I've been in a funk. I've been just sitting in my room. I've been rotting. I haven't been doing anything productive. I've just been watching my Real Housewives, and I was feeling guilty about that. I was like, Alex, you can't have a better coping mechanism. Why can't you study aerodynamics? Why do you have to sit in your room and watch Nene Leakes jab? Although I love Nene. And you know what? Screw off to that voice in my head. Screw you. This is what's distracting me. And that's what you need to tell yourself too at times. If you have those same thoughts, like, wow, I wish I had a more productive coping mechanism, like compared to the person I used to be. Because, like I said, 10th grade, I used to be Superwoman. Why aren't you Superwoman anymore? Shut up. Shut up. You sound so stupid, in the words of Nene Leakes, okay? I'm just happy that I have this coping mechanism. That I'm having a mechanism that's not, harming myself or harming others. That's watching the Real Housewives. What? So what if I want to watch Bethany Frankel curse people out? Who cares? Like, you know what I mean? Or just like scroll through social media for hours. Like, one thing that the influencer lifetime content creator girlies are going to hate is that to go to bed at night, I scroll through TikTok and Instagram Reels heavily. Is there an Instagram Reel I haven't seen? I promise you I have not. I am always, always, always on my phone. And that started out a little bit when I was sick, because when you're sick and you have a fever, you can't get up and do jumping jacks. Like, all you can do is kind of sit down. If your head doesn't hurt enough, sit in bed, have, like, Law and Order on in the background and kind of scroll through Pinterest. That's what I used to do all the time because I was sick all the time. And I got this intense attachment to my phone while I was sick. And it's something I'm learning to detach from as I'm getting better, but I'm learning not to feel too guilty about it or like being too caught up in social media or what the rest of the world is doing, because I kind of had no other choice, and because it's not the worst coping mechanism. Like, obviously there are probably better ones out there. There are probably people whose coping mechanism is running 5 times a day. Great for you. Um, but I'm just being happy that I'm not a harm to myself or I'm not a harm to others. You know what I mean? In that sense where I can get out of this space in my head which is telling me that I need to go. Like, I'm going to be a little honest. Like, I have struggled with suicidal thoughts. I know a lot of people have, some kind of intrusive thoughts or impulsive thoughts about suicide, but I've struggled with some suicidal ideation in the last couple of weeks. And when I say that, I don't mean that I have this big elaborate plan as to how I'm going to kill myself or that I'm going to kill myself or whatever. And I'm doing this to destigmatize it because I feel a little uncomfortable being this vulnerable, but I promise vulnerability, I promise authenticness, and that's what you guys are going to get. I struggled with it. And I would just have thoughts, sometimes where it would just be like, you shouldn't be here. You don't deserve to be here. Just so much negative self-talk to the point where it's telling you, you don't deserve a life. You don't deserve to breathe. You need to kill yourself. And that is so untrue. And it makes me so sad that I can be so terribly cruel to myself and my body that just fought off one of the worst, scariest illnesses ever. And it makes me sad that I recovered from this illness and I was going through pain for months and begging God not to die. And then I get better and I'm like telling myself, okay, well, great. Now you need to die on your own terms. Like, oh my God, this is almost a 40-minute long episode. No one's going to listen to this. Okay, well, I guess it's just me and me now. No. Yeah, with the suicidal ideation and the suicidal thoughts, and I hope I'm not triggering anyone. I realized, and even though they were really tough for me to get through, like I said, I realized I have a support system. I realized I have people who love me, and I realized the heaviness of suicide. Like, you're gone. It's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And I look back at the things I wanted to kill myself over, and I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't. I'm so glad I'm not dead over that. You know what I mean? Like, that was so stupid. Like, I would have died and missed the rest of my life. I would have missed going to college. I would have missed seeing my brothers graduate high school. I would have missed seeing my sister get married. I would have missed me graduating college, becoming the lawyer I've always wanted, getting married, fostering children like I've always wanted, just doing everything I've always wanted to do over a friendship breakup and cyberbullying. You know what I mean? And it makes me, and I also realize how badly I would have been missed. Because even though you feel like no one cares about you, because that's how I was feeling. That's one of the things suicide tricks you into, thinking. No one cares about you. No one's going to miss you. You're blah. People care about you. My mom is my best friend. My mom is my rock. I love that woman with everything in me. And if I had died, my mom would have been so heartbroken, whether it was from, my sickness or from suicide. My mom would have been so heartbroken in both ways. And I feel like she would have been especially heartbroken with suicide because I would have left her. And I'm having this feeling like, oh, no one cares about me when I have a mom in the next room who cares, whose world revolves around me. You know what I mean? So it tricks you into that. No one would care. But people would care. I have 4 sisters who love me and adore me and would miss me. And my sisters have children who would always wonder what happened to their Aunt Alex. You know what I mean? Just stuff like that. Or missing out like on those big milestones, like I said, over something that's really not worth it. So I just got out of a funk, which is why I recorded this episode where I, and I'm getting a little emotional, where I seriously considered committing suicide. And I'm really glad that I didn't. I really, really am glad that I didn't, because my life is so much more, it's worth so much more than a bad moment or a bad period in my life. And I'm just really happy to be here and be recording this episode, because for a second I thought I wasn't going to be able to. If you or someone you know is struggling with suicidal thoughts, please call 988, the National Suicide Hotline. You will be assisted. Someone will talk to you. Someone will provide you counseling. They can help you get up with free resources. And you can get the help that you deserve, because you are worth. And I know you're tired of hearing it, because I was just you sitting on my floor, thinking about killing myself. You are worth so much more than you think. Please call 988. It was the best decision I think I ever made. I had to take a little break. Let's have a little comedic relief. Let's have another Gatorade sip. Let's go. I'm actually liking doing these longer episodes. Like, I swear I can start doing, like, hour-long episodes if you guys want. Like, this is fun. This is actually funner than I thought it would be. Yeah, I just had to take a little break because that last part that I just recorded was kind of heavy. But it needed to be in there. It needed to be in there. Because I could do a whole other episode on suicide. I swear to God I could. Suicide is so different. But depression is ugly. Depression is a liar. That's another thing I've been learning from this funk. Depression will sit there and lie to your face. Depression will sit there and be like, you are worthless and stupid and ugly and fat and nobody wants you and nobody this and this. And your thoughts are just that. They're just thoughts. I'm not worthless. People love me. I have so many people in my life who would have been so sad had I killed myself. I would have had so many people be like, why didn't she just call me? I would have been there for her. And to just leave people like that would have been just the worst thing. But I'm not also, what I also want to say is I'm not saying suicide is a selfish decision. Because I, more than anyone I think, understand that you're not in that frame of, like, the right state of mind when you're considering killing yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you're not, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I was telling my mom this the other day, too. It's like driving drunk. You can't drive drunk because you're not in the right state of mind. Like, how can you function heavy machinery when you're drunk? You're under the influence. It's like that with suicide. That's like a bad analogy. I might get canceled for it, but it's how I understand it. It's how I feel like I understand mental health to people who don't understand. Like, why would you kill yourself if you have such a great life? Why would you drive if you're drunk? Like, you can't do it. You know what I mean? You can't sit up there and weigh all your options and think about how great life is and think about how many people love you when you're going through that moment, when you're in that suicidal moment. But my dad told me, he was like, I feel like if you can just when we were talking about suicide, he was like, I feel like if you can just get through that one moment of sadness, of weakness, whatever you're going through, you can get through it. You can get through the other side. And I feel like people underestimate how strong they are. You know what I mean? Like, God has got your back. He's gotten you through every storm before. He's going to get you through every one that's coming. And that's just the truth. And I was underestimating that. Sorry, I'm stuttering. I'm like tired of hearing myself talk, but I have so much to talk about. Like, this episode could be like 3 hours long, I swear. But I swear I'm going to end soon. But depression is a liar. Your suicidal thoughts are lies. I hope you know, if you take one thing away from this podcast, to this episode, but this podcast specifically, I want you to know how valued and loved you are and how many people would miss you. And I'm going to read a poem I wrote, and I hope you guys like it. It's about suicide. It's called The Morning After I Killed Myself. So, and I just really hope you guys like it. Okay. The morning after I killed myself, I saw life from the other side. My mom finally got a new job. My sister and her husband went on vacation. My grades went up after my teachers offered their condolences. The sun finally came out in Chicago, and my best friend got proposed to. The morning after I killed myself, I heard the birds sing in the morning, around the time I usually make up my bed, but I couldn't hear the birds' songs, because this morning I was dead. I couldn't congratulate my mom on her new job, or hear details about my sister's vacation. I couldn't celebrate my grades or the weather, and most importantly, I couldn't hear the birds sing. I couldn't hear the sunshine. I couldn't see the sunshine. Life got so much richer, and I'm not talking about wealth, the morning after I killed myself. I should have stayed. That poem, that is probably one of the best poems I think I've ever written. Could it be a little deeper or better or whatever? Yes. But I love that poem. I swear to God, I love that poem. Because it just explains, like, to me, I was seeing life from the other side at that point. I was like, I'm so happy I just didn't die. I'm so happy that I didn't kill myself. Because the next day, it got so sunny in Chicago, and I'm sitting in the morning, and I just keep hearing the birds singing, and I'm thinking to myself, I said, Alex, you were going to kill yourself yesterday, and you would have missed one thing that you love the most, one of the simplest things that you love in life, which is hearing the birds sing. You know what I mean? Just think of little things like that you're going to miss. Things that I like that, like the birds singing, and, a possibility of Nene returning to the Real Housewives. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to end this episode because I'm completely way too unserious for such a heavy subject. But again, and I'm going to say it a million times, if you or a loved one is struggling with suicidal thoughts, please call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 988. Please, 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 your life is worth so much more than you think. You are so loved, you are so important, you are so valued, and suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary issue, my love. You're so loved, and you're so worthy, and I love you so, so, so much. I don't even have to know you to know how great and adoring you are. To know you is to love you. How about that? And with that, I'm going to wrap up this episode. Thank you guys for listening to my longest ever episode. Literally my life, my guide to girlhood. Please continue to stay tuned for next week's episode. For further episodes, please follow my guide to girlhood on Instagram. It is a private account, but I accept most people in. I have so many people on there I don't know. We've all become friends. We're talking about hanging out. We're all friends. It's a community, and I'm glad that so many people listen and so many people take away things from my podcast. My favorite thing is when I hear from people, oh my God, I loved your podcast. It really helped me through this. That's what I do it for. That is exactly what I do it for. I'm always here to listen to people's thoughts and criticism and all of the above, all in between. Okay. I love everyone. Oh, and last thing. I got a comment, like a response thing that I thought was pretty interesting. Someone wanted me to do an episode about, like, she'd gotten to. I'll read it actually. How about that? I'll read it. Um, because it was like an episode she wanted me to do. Like, she had got into a fight with a girl about a guy, and she just wanted to me to do an episode on that. And I was like, you know what? That's a really good. It was on anger and disappointment. Okay. Okay, I read, I love the podcast. I want advice because I got into a physical fight with a girl about my man and I'm still angry about it. Can you do an episode about this situation or something based on it? I saw that and I will definitely do that. That will be the premise of next week's episode, which is going to be girl fights, catty fights, whatever. It's going to add on to female friendships, female breakups. It's going to be part 3, girl fights, catty fights, whatever. So we're going to be diving into that next week. Thank you guys again for listening. I'm so sorry for yapping to you guys for almost an hour. I hope you did something great in this time. And if you didn't, you're still great for existing. I love you guys all so, 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 so much. Thank you guys always for all the support. And I will see you guys next week on Literally My Life, My Guide to Girlhood. Bye!